4, 3, 2, 1. Hey there, prosperity practitioners. Brandon Hanley here with Jeremy Todd of the Positive Side. Jeremy said, "Hey, Brandon, heard you got a new podcast. Why aren't I on it yet?" And I said, "I don't know." so here we are. For those of you that don't know Jeremy Todd, he is a podcaster. He's a speaker. He's been doing this. He's been in this positive mindset for, I don't know, Jeremy. I've known you for a few years now. How long have you been in this positive mindset kind of frame of mind?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, the podcast has been going on for, I think, just over 3 years, and man, just talking about life, man. Hey, we're all getting through it. We're all struggling. We're all fighting. We're also seeing success and winning, man. And I just want to share all the ups and the downs and the positive sides. But it's funny that the question you asked is like how long I've been singing this positive side. And I would tell you at age 19, that's when it switched for me.
Okay.
Why age 19, right? So I remember back in the day, and this sounds so cliche for Indiana, like I was in a bowling league. And I would get so upset, like not picking up spares or strikes, and I'd get fired up and I'd get mad, kick something. I was out of control. Like I was just so upset about really nothing.
Right.
And then one day, I'll never forget it. It just clicked. I was like, why am I getting so upset about really nothing? And then I just really started thinking about that more and more about things in life and things that happened to me and that happened to loved ones. And it just morphed into this positive mentality. And hell, I met you, and you and I got similar interests, and it's just been a great ride, man. I'm very blessed to be on the show. So thank you.
Absolutely. So, I mean, talk a little bit more about that, though. You kind of flipped the script, and then 20 years goes by. But I mean, there's got to be some pieces in there. Were you into the personal development space at that age? I mean, at age 19, or were you just understanding that, hey, I can't live my life this way?
That's a great question again. I wasn't in the personal development scene at all. Zero. It was just something that clicked. Like, why are you so upset about something so stupid? I mean, it was dumb. What is going on with me? And it just kind of changed the. I hate to use that old cliche saying of the glass half full, but really it was half empty. And for whatever reason that day, it just clicked to half full. And I went through that lifestyle for years and went through some tough times. I mean, hell, I filed bankruptcy and went through some really tough times. I think when I was 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, I filed bankruptcy when I was 19 or 20. I don't remember what year it was. It was a long time, man, but I went through some tough times. And then I got turned on to the book, The Secret.
Right.
And I know the whole secret, and you hear good sides and bad sides about the book Secret, and the secret, I can't lay in my bed all night and just hope things are going to happen, and then all of a sudden magically they do.
Right. I
think there was a lot of truth in that book too. I think a lot of it has to do with mindset and mentality and what you think and what you feel and what you become, and that makes a big difference. I'm convinced. I'm 100% convinced your mindset determines your destiny. It's important. And I know people that have this negative mentality, this negative mindset, where their entire lives always something bad is always happening.
Dude, I want to throw this out there. I just watched this car series on Netflix, right? And I loved it. I'm always into how they tell the stories of the cars that they're fixing up. It's a resto mod show. Like they're taking like these old cars, they're bringing them up to date. But the show took place in Canada, and I'm watching the show, and it was like watching these bumbling buffoons, which was entertaining, except for it was ripping my heart apart because I knew that the way they were going about things, like this just wasn't a successful vibe, right? Like, or like, they just always, they were always seeing kind of the worst in what was happening, right? Or like they were always expecting the worst to happen. So if you're always expecting the worst to happen, you that's all you're looking for, right? It reminds me of, even in football, right? Where it's like you got a couple different ways you can play the game. You can play it not to lose, or you can play it to win.
Yeah.
Right? You can play, if you're playing defense, there's a good chance it's hard, right? The idea is play to win. You don't go in and play not to lose, right? And I think that mindset in life is like we've got a lot of people that are playing not to lose.
Well, I agree, and I think the other part about that is that what happens a lot of times is when we play not to lose, we fall in the groups of other people that play not to lose. So we in society in general, we get caught up in these groups where like, well, I don't want to go out and try something different, because if we do, the group that we're in says that's not going to work. We get held back by the people that we're in, and then you get scared. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I lose? What if we can what if ourselves to death? And to me, and again, this isn't something, and this is one of the biggest things that I would tell everybody listening to this podcast. I know there's millions around the world, but
worldwide.
What my biggest thing for people is when they listen to podcasts like this, they shut it off and say, you know what, I'm going to change the world, and then they don't get what they expect or what they think is going to happen instantly. It takes a long time. It takes trials and tribulations and experiences, but understanding, going through those things, continuing that positive attitude, and that positivity, that mental fortitude that says, okay, I went through this, now what? I just did and thank you for subscribing. Quick plug for Brandon Hanley, the Monday Motivation. I talked about it this past Monday about keeping things in perspective. When things get really, really bad, do we crash and burn? Do we just cash it in and say, you know what, oh shit, this is, the rest of the day sucks. But on the other side, when things get really, really good, do we just ride this wave? Oh my God, I'm invincible. I can't be touched. Oh my God, this is going to be great. But on both scenarios, when things are really, really good and all of a sudden something bad happens, how do we respond to that? How do we just throw everything out the window? I mean, that's a tough thing for people to get through, and that's what happens a lot of times when people go through these journeys. And you know, like you mentioned, hey, I went through this thing when I was 19. It didn't happen to me right away.
No,
I didn't even start researching books for. I mean, hell, that was probably 10 years after that.
Right.
I didn't read my first book until I was probably 28. I mean, street smarts, and you know, and I got through school, and I could give the gab. I can get through all this stuff, but
for sure.
But man, when you start realizing all these things start tying together, and then you start trusting what is right in front of you, and then say, you know what, this could happen good, and if it does happen bad, you know what, what I learned from the situation. That's more important to me about what you learn from the bad times that make you stronger, and what you learn from the good times. Hey, it's all perspective.
I mean, it's it's and this is the Shakespeare line, right? There's nothing good or bad. It's just your mind that makes it so.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you know, you could look at the bankruptcy. At that point, maybe you were feeling bad about it, but was it a bad thing, right? I mean, and it's all perspective, right? And then to what you're saying here is the lessons, right? What is it that you take away from those moments? What did you learn in that moment? When, you know, I'm gonna lean all the way back into. I haven't had a drink for a couple of years now, but I still remember, like, you'd wake up the next day, you drank too much the night before. It wasn't I'm not gonna drink again. It's like I'm never gonna drink like that again, right? So, yeah, so you know, you take those lessons, and I'm glad you brought up like The Secret, right? I'm anti, and I'm sure you are too. You know, I just get that vibe that you and I are like, you know, it's like. Anti, like, what do they call that? You know, I'm not hopping on everybody else's bus. I'm not on the bandwagon, right? Like, I'm not like, just because somebody brought it up, into it, right? And you and I both started with the same coach when it came to podcasting with Sam Crowley every day Saturday. He interviewed Bob Proctor. I'm not sure if who was in The Secret, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember that specific podcast, but I listened to that specific podcast, no doubt, about 50 times, because something in there that Bob Proctor was saying finally clicked. I was like, oh, no. And, like, it just, the momentum started going, right? And it was something in there that he said that just finally clicked. Whatever he was saying made sense. And I was able to, like, it just fell into place. And at the same time, I was reading The Science of Getting Rich. And the pattern that is laid out in The Science of Getting Rich, I can see that like 100% everywhere I go now. And so, once we understand like this kind of the quote unquote pattern of success, it's like it's a no brainer.
I'm reaching for my notes right now. That's what I'm reaching for right now to write this down because, it's interesting because, just a little thing you just mentioned, Bob Proctor.
Mm-hmm.
I say this with all honesty. It's like Bob Proctor to me is everything that's right. And it's almost intimidating to me to be like, can I be, and again, it's on my own head, but can I be as good as Bob Proctor? But do I have to be? And as I talk through this in my own, and saying it out loud makes a big difference because subconsciously, I say to myself, well, I'm not Bob Proctor.
Right.
I'm not Brandon Hanley.
Right.
But I'm my own self. And
Sure.
it's tough. And I think everybody goes through this stuff. When they get ready to start something, we try and compare ourselves to, this person or that person. I'm not that person. But do I have enough confidence in myself to be the best me possible? That to me is a harder journey to go down to because I think what we do is we will compare ourselves to this person. And if we don't succeed, we give ourselves an easy out. Well, hey, I'm not as good as Bob Proctor.
Dude, I mean, Tony Robbins was breaking it down this weekend, and I'm not like, look, man, he's like, if you say that you tried something, that gives you like an easy out, right? That gives you like, oh, I tried it. Just like, that just gives you an easy out. It's a cop out, right? You'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to go try this thing. You're either going to do it or you're not. I mean, Jeremy, you've done it, man. You've gotten up on stage. You've sold some of your products. You've gotten in front of people before. You've got listeners worldwide. I mean, you've crossed probably like the, six. I don't even know where you at. Where you at in numbers, man? Like, I mean, how many downloads have you gotten to date?
It's kind of cool. I get, I don't get, and again, comparing myself to everybody, I get 2,500 a week probably on average. I mean, it's going pretty good. I mean, I'm over 160 some thousand.
That's amazing. So, yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going good. So every time it's kind of cool. So every time I put the headset on, I'm talking to, a couple thousand people. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I love about it too, is Jeremy, the potential is to talk to billions of people. Each time you press that button, you're talking to the world, right? So there is, I remember when we met, and I was like, the opportunity is like, we only need to get 1,000 people to like us, and there's how many billions of people out there, right? Yeah. And like all we need is 1,000 out of like billions, and it's like you were talking about earlier though too. It's a little bit of a slow lead. Are you familiar with the Zig Ziglar part where he's talking about the bamboo story?
I mean, I love Zig Ziglar, but it's not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, so what I love about this story, and you guys, for those listening, Jeremy and I, obviously, we've known each other for years. This is going to be more of a conversation, I think, than an interview is what it's turned into. Sure. So my apologies for that, and I hope you enjoy, just kind of tuning in for this one, because Jeremy and I, we have these conversations. So anyways,
all the time, like just random phone calls. Hey, Brandon, what's going on? Boom,
right.
Morning,
yeah, absolutely. So there's when you plant bamboo, you go out, and the first year you water it and you watch it, and it doesn't grow at all. Second year, you go out, doesn't grow. You water it, doesn't grow at all. Third year, go out, water it, doesn't grow at all. Fourth year, go out, water it, doesn't grow at all. On the fifth year, it shoots up 15, 20 feet, right? When did it grow?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, but that's the important thing is to keep in mind is there's a lot of people that are going to go, yourself included, right? You've been doing your podcast for 3 years. You've got over 100,000 downloads. There's got to be times in your mind where you're like, should I stop? Right? And I'm sure.
I did. Right. I mean, full disclosure. Yeah. I mean, I think about it constantly, man. Like, why am I doing this? Like, do I keep going?
Right. But so, the deal is the moment you stop, like nobody else is going to pick it up for you. Right. The moment you stop, I mean, the growth is done there. As long as you keep going, the growth is going to keep happening somewhere in shape or form. And, it's going to be, Jeremy Todd's, positive side. And the fifth year, 1 million downloads a week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing, and the question is going to be, when did you grow? you grew like that entire time you were growing. It wasn't just like one moment. And that's why I love that story, right? Because you know, you don't necessarily see the growth as it's happening, and especially when you are the one in it, and you know you're a coach as well, and so it's, you know, you can riddle me this, Batman. It's very hard to see the back of your own head. Sometimes you are too close to the source.
That's a great quote. You're too close to the source. I mean, I've never looked at that. I'm glad you said that, because that is so true. I mean, in good times and bad times.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it goes back to the perspective thing I was talking about. This podcast sucks. I suck. I mean, I can't do anything. You know, but I'm too close to the source. People out there, I'll get a couple of emails saying, "Hey, thank you. It's changed my life."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, I forget. This is why I'm doing it. There's so many things that go through your head while you're going for these goals and these dreams, man. I mean, I guess when I started the journey of going through this podcast, I never thought it would take me on the journey that it has through the mental obstacles, man. Not just, you know, I mean, I don't know how to even else to put it, but, you know, the things that I've struggled with, the journey that I've been through, and sharing as much as I do. But, man, is it good enough? Am I good enough? I can't quit now. I can't. I'm not allowed to quit because of the lives that I'm changing, that I know I'm changing around the world.
Sure.
That's a lot of pressure. Like, shit.
I gotta ask you this too.
I wanted to quit. I mean, I can't.
I gotta ask you this because this happened for me. Does your audio match your video? Right. I mean, and I'll preface it like this. When I first started, I wasn't aligned. I don't feel like with audio and video. The things I was saying wasn't necessarily who I was. And then at a certain point, it all snapped together, right? I became all of it. I became the podcaster. I became fatherhood for the rest of us. I became that was my identity for a while too. Like, I mean, which is actually one thing I would ask you, has your identity at certain points become, you know?
That's a great point. And I think, yes. When you say, does your audio match your video? That's the first thing that pops in my head is, and again, this is just the business side of it. Do I do enough video side of it? You know, and I know that's so on one level. Like, am I doing enough video and content and Facebook Lives? But I know what you're saying. Does the audio match my actual lifestyle and who I am? It is more, and it gets more and more me every single day. If anybody walked up to me on the street, you're going to get the real deal of me. And you know, going through the situation I am personally with my personal life right now, it's allowed me to identify more with who I am, not in a bad way, not in a good way. Because I don't think there's anything really. I don't think there's such thing as good or bad. It's just, it is. I mean, it's life, and we're experiencing these things, and how do you react to it is more important. But I am more in tune with who I am now, and I hopefully that generates through this show and through my podcast than I've ever been in my entire life. To where when I was a teenager, you know, to when I was an adult having kids, to going through the personal experience that I am now, I've never been more in tune with who I am as a person than I've ever been in my entire life. And I think that has to do with experiences. I think it has to do with having conversations. I think I'm glad I just mentioned that out loud, because I think that's today is more important now than it's ever been. Having big conversations. I have conversations with you all the time. I have conversations with Donnie Tuttle all the time. One of my best friends, Jamie Lang, but like conversations about life, perspective. Did I react correctly? Am I a dick for going through this? What would you do? I mean, the more outbound conversations I have, because in the world that we live in, with the social media world where everything's just digital, it's text, it's email, it's social media posts and commenting. The more I have within my own head to have with a smart perspective person to help hold me accountable, to call me out on my bullshit, has made me stronger than it's ever been in my entire life. I didn't have like you. I met you 3 years ago. You weren't in my life before. The Donnie
And I'm sorry about that.
Well, yeah, but again, this is the journey.
Right.
This is the journey that I probably wasn't ready for it. Everything comes into my life at a specific time for a specific reason, and you came into my life for a specific reason at this specific time. I mentioned Donnie Todd a lot, but the list goes on and on. For all the people I've met in the last 3 or 4 years have made me grow more in the last 3 or 4 years than I've ever grown in my entire life, hands down, 10 times over. It's not even close.
Right.
It's because of the conversations, the people you hang out with. I've talked about this 1,000 times too. It's sometimes you got to fire your friends. If you're hanging around with people that are holding you back, fire your friends.
Well, I mean, what do you find about that too? I mean,
like you and me doing digital video right now.
Right.
You don't have to go to a coffee shop in your neighborhood.
Right.
You can get on Zoom. You can get on, free conference call. You can pick up the phone and have these conversations. It doesn't have to be someone in your backyard. And I think that socially, like for me, like I'm trying to, get too much information, meet someone else and try and go on a dating scene and all this shit. It's scary, man. It's scary. It's weird. It's weird and strange, but man, the more conversations I can have with people that are more like me, that build me up, that make me stronger, the better I feel every day. So
I mean, when you say more like me, what are you saying?
I'm saying people that the first thing that pops in my head is the people that don't judge, people that don't, their ego doesn't get in the way. They don't live a certain lifestyle. You get to keep up with them. They don't care what you look like, you drive, what clothes you have on. I mean, just perspective. People that want to have bigger conversations and challenge each other mentally to become better. Those are the people I surround myself with now. I don't surround myself with, oh my God, you got to meet this person because they're super successful. I don't want to meet someone that's because they're quote unquote super successful. I want to meet a bartender that struggled their life, that maybe fought an addiction or something that has a different perspective. I want big conversations. I don't care what you have. I don't care what you drive. I don't care where you live. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care about any of that stuff. But at the same time, a lot of times those people aren't, I don't know how to say this. There are not a lot of people like that out there because we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. The big people that are not trying to keep up with the Joneses, that don't judge themselves or you, is refreshing. I latch on to people. Those people like you, I've latched on to you. You're my boy. We talk all the time.
Absolutely. No, man. Well, one of the things I still remember you getting up in front of Sam Crowley event, and just, one of the things that you talk about, and this is part of, law of attraction. This is part of the prosperity practice. This is part of, just kind of being who you are. But you talked about, believing in what you were there for and believing in it and 100%. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, self-belief is huge. And one of the things I want people to know too, I'm just going to kind of throw some of this out there, is, self-belief and self-talk is all part of law of attraction, right? It falls into that. And it's also part of the business world. It's also part of most successful people's lives. And you're one of the first people I saw kind of talking about it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how important that is, belief in self and self-talk?
Well, I mean, self-talk for me is huge. If you look around my apartment right now, I've got all kinds of little notes written all over the place. I've got one on my front door that says procrastination is killing you. It's huge. I've got one on my fridge that says, I don't even know. It says resistance is holding you back from the dreams you want to achieve. I mean, it's things like that, it's what you put in is what you put out. But again, I don't want to say that it's all, all roses and everything's beautiful, because I struggle sometimes. But at the end of the day, I think to myself, you know what? Everything is put in my way to see how I react. Am I going to fail or am I going to succeed? I don't believe anybody else can. This sounds so terrible. I don't think I'll ever fail.
Sure. Well, I mean,
I don't see that as But again, when you say that to most people, oh God, of course you would say that. I mean, but I think that's people that don't understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. They have been beaten down, and they want to pull you down to their level. Mm-hmm. I don't think I will fail at anything. I never have and never will, and I think it more now than I ever have in my past, because the things I've been through and the things I struggle with, it all goes back to that word perspective. I don't think I fail at anything. And I'll get in front of anybody. I'll say anything because I don't care. If it comes off, like if I get in front of somebody and a group of people and I completely bomb, I think that's funny. I think that's hilarious.
Well, there's the other part of that too, right? I tell this story all the time and I love it. I met Stuart Reynolds, who was at Dad 2.0 a couple years ago. And, he's a Canadian guy who has done very well for himself on social media and in other places. But he tells a story about being in high school, about how he was playing in some new wave band. He's up there playing bass. He's got like all the, flock of seagulls hair going and stuff like that. And then there's some punk in the audience who's like sitting there going like this, pointing up at him while he's sitting on the stage playing bass going, "You suck." and right. And, Stuart Reynolds is up there and he's playing the bass. He looks down at the kid. He goes, "Yeah, but I'm the one up on stage."
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a big, and I think about that all of the time. I think about that all of the time because, is my podcast the greatest? Probably not, but I've got a willingness to press the record button. I've got to know how to send it out there, and I feel like I'm putting good content out there, right? And so for anybody to come up and be like, "Well, that's not amazing," well, go do your own. I don't care. This isn't for you then, obviously.
I think it boils down to authenticity more now than ever has been ever in the history of mankind. The more authentic you are with yourself. But again, authenticity isn't something that you just spit out. Because again, what we're trying to do as society is keep up with the Joneses. So what you're trying to tell people isn't, I don't think most of the time, your true authentic self. Because you say things that not for what you want to hear, what other people want to hear. To be authentic, like your show, like I try and put on my show, and I think authenticity and vulnerability go hand in hand.
Sure.
Because when you're vulnerable with somebody and you're authentic, you don't give a shit about what anybody else thinks. But I promise you, more people think what you think when you're vulnerable than they do when you're fake. They relate more to it. Hey, sure. I'm struggling through this right now because of this, and this is what's happening. That's more relatable to everybody than to say, "Hey, I'm cashing checks and snapping
cashing checks and snapping necks."
Well, it's that hustle and grind mentality.
Wait, so there's also this other one. Somebody else put a perspective for me once was, to share your problems while you're in it may not be as beneficial as to share your problems after you've kind of gone through them to learn the lesson. Be like, "Hey, you know what? I just went through all this shit, and here's what I learned from that." Yeah, right? That's a great point. And I really appreciated it because, again, we can go back to our good buddy Sam Crowley and say, 90% of the problem doesn't, people don't care about your problems. 90% of them, don't care, and 10% are glad you got them. When I saw Campfield. He used to have a jar at work that people had to put money in if they complained. Right now, is sharing your problems the same as complaining? I don't know. Is venting? Who else was it? Tony Robbins, this a couple weeks ago, had the other conversation where, you can talk about, you can suffer, right? You can have your suffering period for like 24 hours or something like that. After that, it's just like, let it go, right? Like, go through your shit. Hold on to it. Because, look, it's real, right? You do suffer. You go through some periods of time, and it's okay to, shit, if your body couldn't feel it, if you didn't feel that suffering and you do, and it's natural, it's a kind of intentional thing, right? Like, why are you going to try and fight nature? What is your body telling you? And your body's connected to the 90% of your subconscious that knows a lot more than you've ever, it knows everything about you.
I think your body, I'm glad you brought that up because that is so influential in my life right now. I've tried to cut back on drinking. I've talked about this with you 1,000 times about not drinking at all, and I haven't had drinking 5 days. It's a long time.
It's huge, yeah.
Hey, man, it's cool. And again, I'm not trying to say I'm going to do it forever, but what I've done is I've identified with my body. Mm-hmm. Like, what am I going through? What is my body telling me? And I've thought about this so much. Like, when I wake up in the morning, I'm sharper, I'm clearer. By the end of the day, and again, I don't even know why I'm telling you this in the show, but whatever. By the end of the day, I get tired. And then I almost resort back to, hey, I need to have a drink to make me feel better because I'm tired for the day. But what that drinking does, it affects my sleep. So then I'm more tired when I wake up in the morning. Then I'm feeling like I had to drink earlier in the day. But when I get more sleep, then I feel better. Then I'm more energized. Then I don't need that. But it goes back to this. I'm trying to work on identifying what my body is telling me to not just that, but what do I trust? Am I making the right decision? Am I meeting the right people? I think there's this whole subconscious level to where our brain is telling us that what is right, what is wrong, and we justify so many other reasons that why not to trust that. It's tough, man. Hard.
Well, look, man, what you're trying to do right now is fight your habits, your lifelong habits, right? Right now, you're trying to fight lifelong habits.
Yeah.
The reason you think you're even tired at the end of the day is because you grew up listening to everybody say, well, end of the day, I'm tired. Whoa, I'm tired.
Sure, yeah. But, I'm big on sleep, too. Hey, if I get 5 hours of sleep the night before, I think I personally need 8 hours of sleep every night.
Well, listen. I mean, look. I mean, the studies show all kinds of awesome stuff on sleep, right? Like, fucking go get it. You need it. A, B. Just the amount. Like, sleep is awesome. But again, I'm gonna wrap back over here to, you telling yourself that you're tired because everybody else is going up around that. But I'm not saying you're not tired. End of the night go to sleep. But you got to think about this. And I love this is another thing from Bob Proctor that I picked up is like, your body literally is energy. You are a form of energy. Everything that you see around you is a type of energy. Your body is energy. You are nothing else other than what are atoms?
100%.
Yeah.
I agree. And I agree with that energy part. And I think I know for a fact when you drink alcohol, it lowers that energy.
Right.
100% it does. So that contributes to my mentality to where if I have something that lowers my energy even more, and I get in this vicious cycle.
I was going to say that's good, right?
but you know what? It goes. I think this is what I'm going through now and what I'm thinking about and trying to process this whole situation through my own head because when we talk about, hey, drinking it hurts your liver and all these other, but those aren't really reasons. I know it sounds stupid, but they're not reasons for me to quit drinking. That makes any sense at all because I need to justify it to myself in my own head on a different mental level to say physically and energy wise, this is what's happening to me. And then I'm working through this thing now where I need to compare this thing. If I have a couple drinks one night, I don't the next night. It's the old thing when you wake up in a hangover, I'm never, like you just said, I'm never drinking like that ever again.
Right.
But you compare these things to your head, in your own head. So, And I like this journey that I'm on because it's more cerebral. It's not I need to quit just because of this reason or that reason. I don't want to get.
Well, Jeremy, I mean, look, you're in sales, right? What are the benefits of not drinking?
I mean, there's all kinds.
Right. I mean, let's start listing them off, right? Like, I mean, let's pretend like you're selling me a car. What if that benefit came in blue?
but again, being the person that I am and the salesperson that I am, I can justify.
Right, but I mean, it's not a justification, right? You do it
for the right price, Hey.
Right. What's the right price? I mean, a happy life is that a good price? You willing to pay that price?
I mean, is it? Am I that unhappy? Is there anything wrong with having one beer?
Well, I mean, you tell me, man. I
don't know.
Right?
I don't know, and that's what I'm working through myself. That I just don't know.
But what are the benefits, right? Like, so let's say you have more energy. Let's say that your body doesn't have to process as many toxins. Let's say that let's not even just like look at the short-term effects. How much money are you going to save if you're not drinking, right? And that's not even today. Let's say like if you quit drinking now and you save your liver, how many hospital visits are you going to save, right? Like, and what are some other benefits? You get to drive wherever you want, whenever you want. I mean, because
I get it.
You and this is what I did for myself.
I think what you're talking about too, and again, not to try and justify it, but again, if I have one beer,
yeah,
I can have anywhere I want.
Yeah, what fun is one beer?
What does that one beer do?
Yeah, it's boring. I mean, right?
That one beer's nice. It tastes good.
Oh, yeah. Nothing to it, right? I mean, so
I guess the journey I'm going on with this, and I've gone through this journey for probably 2 years. I've really been kind of figuring this thing out. But I think more now that I really have dialed in more now because it has become more mental with me. It's not just physical, and these are what's going on. It's like, well, why do you really want to have this? Let's break this down a little bit more. Instead of saying these are the side effects that are going to happen to you if you don't. Okay, I get that. But psychologically, what is that doing for you? Like, what is it hiding? What weakness is it hiding in your game? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to make feel better? And this journey I'm on now is more interesting than I've ever been on because I challenge myself mentally more now than I ever have my entire life. And again, it goes back to this, all the things I've done in the past and reading the books and studying and having these conversations that I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with myself if I didn't have the conversations before to take this next challenge on. If that makes any sense at all. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, look, man, I'm gonna throw a couple more at you though because I want to share some of the things that kind of helped me during this period, right? Like when I wasn't trying to quit drinking, I just wanted something else, right? And it was again, Zig Ziglar. Like I was listening to him all the time, and how he quit drinking when he was around 45 or 40, and he had like the story, or even just the notation of God has given you everything you could possibly ever need to be successful, right? In terms of like drugs and alcohol, and then he always told the story, and I actually pulled it up kind of while you were talking, but and I'm sure you've heard this one too. He goes, if you owned a racehorse worth over $1 million, would you let it stay up half the night drinking coffee and booze, smoking cigarette, and eating junk food?
Yeah, right.
Right. And then they say, would you treat a $10? He goes, would you treat a $10 dog or a $5 cat that way? What about $1 billion body? Right. That's you. Right. Like,
yeah.
Man, I listen to that audio so often, and and it's funny because the books that you and I, the content that we ingest, it literally becomes who you are. And that to me is like amazing, right? It becomes amazing because I find myself telling the Zig Ziglar team of horse stories now, right? And all this other stuff. But let's bring it back in. I'm sorry, we are tangent, whatever, dude.
Whatever, we're on tangent, sure. Like we always do.
A reason I'm trying to get this podcast into the space where we can talk about, like we did a little bit earlier, some of the other things that successful people do that the law of attraction is talking about. And before we got this podcast started, and I'm not calling myself a law of attraction guy, I'm calling myself prosperity practice, and just a little bit different to me, because if you just focus on law of attraction, you're missing a lot of other pieces, right? You're just like, oh, this is how it is, right? But that being said, there's all these practices that people do and don't even know that they're doing. Like, what is another one that you would say people visualization, right, is a big one for law of attraction. You've got to have a clear picture. You want to talk about that? Because I mean, and how does that relate? Where do you see that corresponding in the business world or the non-law of attraction space? Like, how would you translate that?
Well, it's a great question because I think the human brain. I've said this for years is that when you think of the word ice cream, you don't think of ICECREAM. You actually think of an ice cream cone or an actual bowl of ice cream because we are very visual. Yeah. I think little things that I've done in the past is that I've done a vision board, and I need to update my vision board because it is so powerful. Because when you see things, visualize things, and where you want to go, it's so much more impactful than writing goals down. And again, not that I have goals and dreams and all this stuff, but I'm more of a visual, quote unquote, goal guy now than I've ever been because I need to see the things that are going to actually happen in my life. I can't write goals down. I'm sorry. I can't write 1, 2, 3, short term, midterm. I did it for years and years and years and years. but now I'm visual.
Okay.
What does that mean to that? And that's why, I'm glad you said that, because you put me on blast, because I've been working on my new vision board for the last 2-3 weeks. I've talked about it. And what's crazy, if I look at my old vision board, still have it. So got all the pictures that I cut out. I've accomplished probably 50% of those things on that vision board, which is insane.
That's awesome.
There was one that I wanted to live in the mountains on the side of a hill, overlooking a valley, and boom, I did that in California and lived that life.
Nice.
There was one that said it was something along the lines of being I don't want to say single, I want to say alone and in your own island. And that's kind of what I feel like I am now. And you look back and it's just like, wow, this is what I've created in my own mind by these visual images that I put there.
I mean, let's talk about that too, right? Like, would you be comfortable with saying that you have been manifesting these things through your visions?
There's no question about it. There's no question about it. And you hear all kinds of stories about people, and I don't want to use a bad example, people when they get sick. And talk about, well, hey, you need to get out and go see something funny, manifest yourself being healthier, getting off that bed. I think that is reality. I think that happens. I think we don't give our body and our mind enough respect and confidence that they can heal itself. That happens over and over and over again. But when we don't practice these things, and we don't think about these things enough, that our minds are so powerful. They control our entire life, to what is going to happen to us, what's happened to us in the past, and how we can become healthier, better, smarter, physically more fit. There's so many things that the mind does. So when you say, do you manifest these things, I don't think there's any question about it. So when people say, like, I hear it all the time, well, you're the positive guy. You always think the best is going to happen. Well, yeah, you know what? Damn right I do. Because I believe that. And it's not that I'm going to knock on wood, but it's always happened to me.
Well, I mean, Jeremy,
it always has, it always will, and it always will for the rest of my life. It always will happen. I say that constantly, and it wears people out.
You got a couple of options, right? You can focus on it not going right and well, or you can focus on it going well. I mean, again, this goes back to the beginning. We can play to win, or we can play not to lose, right?
Yeah, but I think there's there's a level of saying that, yes, I am so confident that things will happen. But do you 100% all in, trust your gut, everything? I 100% have no doubt. And any of the things that I say are going to happen, I believe they're going to happen. And it's so hard for people, number one, to understand that. Number two, to actually get to that level of belief. And what I hate about that is that we all have that power.
Well, Jeremy, let's talk about this though too. I mean, you didn't start at that point.
No.
Right. I mean, so, this is also, we can also relate this to when we were talking earlier about, we compare ourselves to these greats, right? We compare ourselves to all these other great people. They all started just like we are, right? That you don't have to be great to start. You just got to start somewhere, right? So where would you recommend someone starts like this 100% belief in themselves and their visions and their ability to manifest?
Well, what was going through my head when you're mentioning that is that we're all on our own journey, and our own journey is unique. I think we need to be comfortable and excited about the journey that we're on. My journey is not to be Tony Robbins. My journey is not to be Brandon Hanley. My journey is to be the best possible Jeremy Todd that I possibly can be. And if I am the best Jeremy Todd I can possibly be in every aspect of my life, all my goals and dreams and visualizations are going to come true. But it's the day-to-day things that you go through that get in your head that you battle with. That's the day-to-day struggle for me, is that I'm not trying to be, again, Brandon Hanley, Tony Robbins, Pitbull, Grant Cardone.
Worldwide.
I'm not trying to be any of those people. I'm trying to be the best Jeremy Todd possible. But again, what happens is when we get this comparison game, hey, I want to be this person. Your goal, the reason you're on this life, your journey, is not to be that person. Your journey is to master the person that you are. And,
right.
And we judge things on success, of financial success. it is a bad indicator about being a great person.
Well, no doubt. I mean, there's a
indicator.
Yeah, there's other stories in there too, right? Like, I mean, look, and I actually just recently went through this where I had somebody I worked closely with tell me about his life, and then I looked around and there was another person I worked closely with, and I knew his life, and I was like, came home one day, I was like, Meg, they may be successful, but I don't want their lives. Their lives are terrible. Right. Why would I want that life? And I think that a lot of people need to do that, right? Take a look at somebody who's quote unquote successful and decide whether or not you really want that. Remember, I mean, this reminds me of Nas back in the day, right? Like the Nas song. You really gotta understand if you want that person's life or not. You see the tip of the iceberg. You see, their quote unquote success. You see the veneer of success, but you don't know or understand A, what it took to get there, B, what it looks like behind closed doors.
Correct, and I also think, and another kind of, a little bit of a turn on that is that, not to get too deep on everybody again, but what I always do is that, why are we on this planet? Why are we in this situation we are? And I say that because the journey that I'm on may be a specific journey that I need to overcome based on maybe something that's previously happened to me. And again, I don't want to get too far off on it, but a previous life.
Sure.
Maybe I'm on this path to overcome something that maybe time and time again I failed at. I need to get beyond the struggle and quit using these excuses to my crutch. I need to get past this challenge in my life to get to the next level. So when you, again, the problem with society is we compare ourselves to everyone else. The only person you should compare yourself to is yourself.
And again, I mean, look, we have been force-fed TV, we've been force-fed mass media, we've been force-fed all kinds of things, right? So the key, I think, is to, look, man, you got to figure it out for yourself. And I think a real big key is to look at what is your purpose, right? Jeremy, Todd, you've got a purpose. You feel like you're on purpose. You're delivering on purpose. You've discovered your purpose and you're acting with it and you're interacting with it. And again, this all ties into, you have drawn to you in your life the things that you need to be on and live in your purpose. And again, this is also law of attraction too, where you say, hey, here's the life and here's who I am. And people are going to show up. And tell me about this. I mean, have you had people show up in your life that could help you get to where you want to be today, that like out of nowhere?
100%.
Yeah. Tell me a story about that.
Well, it happened. Well, it happens constantly. It happens with you. I mean, you came out of nowhere. Sam Crowley did. And I'm going to take that subject and kind of turn it a little bit, because the other question I have a lot of times in my life is that, because of my attitude in the past, have I missed some of those opportunities that have been people in my life? So now I live the life that I meet every single person, and I am open to every single person, because I don't know who is in my life for a specific reason. I don't want to judge. I'm open-minded. I laugh and I talk to every single person because I don't know who is in my life to give me a lesson.
Can I ask you this, Jeremy, before you finish up? I mean, so I love this line from, and this came from Florence Scovel Shinn. And if you haven't checked her out, I think you highly recommend her. Super awesome. But, you see the divinity within everybody around you, right? But that's what it sounds like you're saying, right? Like you go in there, you see the divinity. If you see, God or the universe, or, you recognize that, they're just as divine as you. That's powerful, right?
I truly believe it, man. I do.
Yeah, man.
The person I come into contact with at work, at the grocery store, at the restaurant, I truly believe that this situation is not just random. I think it's important. But I also think about, when I come across people that, again, I don't even know if I'm impacting them or not, but I promise you at some point in my life, in the last week, 2 weeks, year, last 10 years, I've really focused on this, that I've changed lives. I don't even realize it, because I can go up to someone and say, hey, tell me about your day.
Hmm.
I had a young lady today at the grocery store. I said, tell me about your day. She's like, well, it's just, a little bit tough. I said, well, you know what? Well, she said she showed up to work late today and she was all stressed out. I said, you know what? I'm really glad you're here today. You made my day by being here. I'm glad you made it. And you could see something in her eye like, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be okay. But that situation, if that didn't come across me and I didn't respond to that, what happens to the next person, the next customer in line, or when she goes home, or when she gets that phone call? And what is that experience? And, the old butterfly effect, how does that react to someone else in their lives? One of the most important things we need to do is understand that we're all connected.
For sure.
And when we flip someone off, cutting us off, we don't let somebody over in traffic, we say something nasty to somebody, that too is the butterfly effect, because that too continues on to somebody else. I use the example all the time about letting people over. If they cut me off, I just wave them, hey, thank you. I'm so sorry. You're more than welcome. I let everybody. I'm that
let
guy.
them roll on, man. Sure.
I let everybody, because, God, can you imagine if they let the funeral for their loved one just died? Here I am. They cut me off, and I'm flipping them off.
Right.
Who am I?
I mean, like, John, I don't even think about it like that. I'm like, listen, I'm going where I'm going. I'm going there at my speed. You got to go. Get right. Like, I don't know what your life's about. Maybe you feel like you're late for work. Maybe some other things are going on, but I don't want to be in your way. You got to get there.
Exactly, man. Hey, that we're all connected, and we all need to understand that we all need to vibe together. And people,
this is where like a lot of people be like, oh, I'm out, I'm not into this, this space. But here's the thing, man. Studies right now are like popping up over and over and over and over and over and over that are showing how, like, our thoughts travel much further than they think that they do. This was great at Jack Canfield's event. He did a study in Duke and NASA showing that like 200,000 miles and change thoughts are translated, right? Transmitted. They're doing studies. Bruce Malcolm, I think I introduced you to him. He keeps introducing me to like these studies where, like, if there's a doctor who is giving care and has actual empathy, even if he gives the exact same treatment as another doctor who just doesn't give a shit, the guy who is like empathetic and actually cares about what he is that he does and loves what it is that he does, even the exact same treatment, that guy's patients are better than this other guy's.
100%.
So it's just, the stuff that the vibe and all this other stuff, it's coming around and it's showing up. And I love seeing that science has proven it out. And I love being able to align it and just be like, you know what? Oh my God, I'm not crazy. Right. Or like, you're not crazy. You are experiencing these things. Who was it? Adam Walton today, like, he posted something. But my response to him was this, and this goes back to Wayne Dyer, who I think you turned me on to. Thanks for that. It's like, you have to believe something before you're going to see it. Everything already exists, right? Like, everything 100% already exists. And I love this line too, or just this, and I don't even remember where this one came from, but like, if God already created everything, then everything's already been created, right? God created everything, right? It's already been done. He's done creating. All we got to do is become aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's powerful, man. It's powerful. Everything that you've talked about and everything you said is 100% right. And everything that Adam Walton, I love Adam Walton. I love you bringing him in. But I just think that there's just more to it than what.
Well, this is surface. This is just like this is like surface of surface. And, like he brings up and like we see all the time right now, it's like our eyes only perceive like maybe 1% of the visible spectrum of light. Okay. What's that mean to you? What does that tell you?
Well, again, I would tell everybody listening to this that, until you actually do what we're talking about, you're never going to actually see it, because it's happened, man. It's happened where I've done things for nonchalant shit, nonchalant saying hi to somebody that they've come back and say, hey, you impacted my life.
Mm-hmm.
You saw 1% you see 1% of the light spectrum. Yeah, I agree with that, but we also see 1% of the things that what we say to someone actually how it responds to them. We don't see what goes on after that.
Well, I think you're helping redirect energy when you're talking about that, Jeremy. Like, I mean, you're seeing somebody who may be having a bad day and they're like, I don't know, we'll call it chi, or their energy flows like all like a waterfall of crap, right? And you're like, you know what? You're like, have a good day, dude. And like that just moment can just like, have you ever seen like little pictures or like whatever when you touch the water and you purified it, right? Like with just a touch, and that's what you're doing to somebody. It sounds like that's what you did for that girl today, man.
Well, I think even beyond that, man, I think I've gone in the last probably year, I've gone to people where I feel these energies from people, and I just flat out tell them like, hey, I feel like you got like a tough energy, man. Hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not okay. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
But we all sense that, and we're like, I don't want to be weird, or I don't want to say nothing. But you've done it. You walk into a room, you're like, I got a bad vibe in this room.
Yeah.
You meet someone, I don't really know about that person.
You
know those things. You trust it. You trust that gut. You trust that feeling. And I've started just calling people out on it, man. Hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes be like, yeah, I'm fine. But like, it's cool. I just got this feeling that maybe something was going on, and hey, I apologize. And a lot of times they'll say, yeah, it's crazy you felt that way because I do got something going on. We got to trust that more.
Dude, do you think now? So this is I saw somebody asking this question about being woke, right? And I don't really care whether or not you feel like you're woke or not woke or whatever, and that to me doesn't really matter. But I feel like there's more of what you and I are talking about that's showing up in the world. And is that because we are that and we attract that, or do you feel like there's actually more of it happening?
I think there's more of it happening. I truly believe it because I think it's been there forever. And I think the society in general, no disrespect to the people that were born in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And I just think there's more information. I think it's more talked about. I think there's more knowledge. I think we learn more about it. And I think it's been there forever. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about the future.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
What does that look like?
I think the what we got lucky with in our generation and where we are right now, and I always say that we are in the best possible. We couldn't have asked to be born at a better time. Like, this is amazing.
In a better place too.
Right. Look,
we're blessed.
So much, dude. But mass media was brand new, right? Like, the brain was not prepared for that. For the 30s, 40s, 50s. Yeah, exactly. Nobody was prepared for that onslaught.
Well, hell, the war of the worlds, when people were thought the world was under attack.
Yeah. They thought that was legit. But right now, I think that with not only just being given all the information through the internet, but the ability to like cut the cords, to redirect, to cultivate, to have our own streams and our own feeds, and break away from what everybody else is thinking. It's great, right? And I think that's where we are, right? And I think that, and it's not just, it's not just information. People are applying this stuff, right? People like you and myself. We're like, it's not like. Actually, I'm gonna back. When you get into this space and you let it like permeate who it is that you are, it's like almost like you have no choice but to see it start showing up in your life.
Correct. Everybody gets better. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
It happens all the time. It happens constantly. On my Facebook page, I get a lot of comments on there. Like, I had someone comment the other day, and she's a teacher in Pennsylvania, that she says, Jeremy, your quotes that you put on this page, I put on my door as a teacher. The door when you walk into a classroom, and I change them constantly with the stuff that you put on your page.
I love it.
That's inspiring kids' lives. That's making an impact, man.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
How can I stop what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying?
You hear people be like, if I see one more meme, if I see one more positive, yada, yada, I'm like, then what? You know what I mean? Like, how?
Right, exactly.
Then what? Again, I always lean back. I'm like, cultivate your feed. You own. You make the choices. And I always look at the internet and Facebook and all these other spaces as kind of like training wheels right now to like, how do you use your mind? Well, I'm going to close this tab. I'm going to say I want this to show up primarily in my feed, right? Like you have the ability to go in, hey, Google, these are the only things I want to talk about. This is like, so, I mean, for instance, Google Now, right? Like you press that button and it only shows the news that you want to see.
Yeah.
And then it says, hey, is this interesting to you right now? You're like, not anymore. And it doesn't show up in your feed anymore. Your brain works the same way.
Absolutely.
All these things work the same way, and I think that I can't. We're in an amazing time, right? Like where there's this there's a breakaway from mass, just a breakaway from the masses.
It's a breakaway too. It needed to happen, and I'm glad I'm on the journey.
For sure. Would you say we're in would you say, and I believe we are, would you say we're in the midst of a revolution?
That's a great question. Yes, for sure. I mean, I think it's, when you say the word revolution, I think a lot of times we think of something that's going to happen within, a short amount of time. I think within the next 5 years, 10 years, I just think over time it gets, two answers. Yes, I think we are. But I think it's not as a typical revolution that when you use the word revolution, I think that maybe something quicker or time based. I just think it's going to continue. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to people are going to become more quote unquote woke.
Right.
I think we're going to be more inspired and more caring, more giving, more because we're more interconnected. I hate to tell, bring it right back in, but when you want to find positive people, you can find them.
Oh yeah, look, you got to be. Look again. I'll use Google for that. What do you want to find in your life? Type it in, dude. You are a walking search engine, right? What do you want to find in your life? Start looking for it, right? Go to your own search engine and be like, hey, you know what I'm looking for today is positive people. You're going to find
a podcast. If you're tired of the shit you're listening on the radio, listening to bullshit songs, throw a podcast on.
Oh my God, when's the last time you listened to radio?
Oh, I just told someone today the stations in my car, they're not programmed. I don't even know what they're programmed to.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong too. I do, like, every once in a while I'll put on some music. I'm like, it's almost like a drug when it comes on now, like, because I don't listen to it so often that when it does come on, I'm like, I'm charged.
Absolutely.
This has been a lot of fun, brother. I'm going to wind us down, though. So, this sounds to me like it'll be another one of those things where we just kind of get back to it as it kind of grows and as it kind of as we grow, as we evolve in our own different ways, we'll have more to bring back to this conversation. Where can people go to find Jeremy Todd today?
Well, that's a great question, my friend. And man, dude, you sent me a message earlier. Hey, do you want to get on my show? There was no question. Of course, I want to get your show. I love this show, man. I love being on here. I love the right mindset, and obviously you're one of my best friends by far. I just love connecting.
I appreciate that, brother. By the way, answer your text. I got a text for you. I got some questions for you there.
Oh, you do? All right. Well,
yeah, thanks.
I try to put the phone away. But yeah, you can find me, JeremyTodd.com. You can find me on my Facebook page. I'm very interactive on there. I know, oh my God, Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on the newest thing, but I get it. I'm on Instagram a little bit, YouTube. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel a little bit. I don't have a lot on there, but I post a video every week. But yeah, hey, Jeremy@JeremyTodd.com is a great email. I'm always available. I'm always live. Shoot, man, you can find me anywhere. I'm all over the place. Check it out. Love it,
brother. Love it. And Positive Side, right? Head on over to Positive Side
Podcast. Yeah.
That's right.
Positive Side Podcast and
love it.
iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff, and Positive Side Podcast on Facebook. That's probably the best way.
Boom.